Good evening. Welcome to the December 6th Recreation and Parks Commission for the City of Richmond, California. We are coming to order at 6:10 p.m. If everyone would please join me as we rise to pledge allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. We do have a land acknowledgement that we have been doing for a few years now, switched up a little bit, but the heart is still in it. We humbly acknowledge that we sit within the unceded traditional ancestral homelands of the Chochenyo and Ohlone people who have occupied and cared for this land since a distant time prior to the founding of the City of Richmond, prior to the California statehood, and for centuries before the establishment of the United States. As the Recreation and Parks Commission, we strive to steward the land in a way that honors its past, current, and future inhabitants, and takes seriously the responsibility of its continued care. The mission of this commission is to advise the City Council and city staff to provide excellent parks and recreation facilities, to preserve open space, and to provide programs that enrich, educate, and serve the needs of the diversity of the residents in Richmond. We are going to do our roll call. Chair Smith, present. Vice Chair Rowden?
Present.
Remember to turn your mic on.
Present.
Thank you. Secretary Blakely?
Present. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Hurlbut is excused. Commissioner Kaiser is excused. Commissioner Lannis?
Presente.
Commissioner Torres?
Here.
Okay. Thank you very much. We do have an official quorum. Official welcome to everyone who is here and in the audience. Individuals in the audience may speak as follows. After the chair recognizes each speaker on items not on the agenda during open forum, there will be a 2-minute limit. For items on the agenda after the item is heard, again, 2-minute limit. Individuals are encouraged to send an email to recreation@ci.richmond.ca.us by 1 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Emails should contain in the subject line public comments, open forum, or public comments, agenda item number. Include the agenda item number. All communication during this meeting is conducted with courtesy and respect, and all speakers will be advised when the time is up, and you will be asked to politely end your time. All right, so the agenda is before you. I hope you got a chance to look at it previously. If you did not, please take a quick look through. And if there's anything that needs to be added to the consent calendar or request to be removed, anyone have any concerns? Okay, seeing no hands, hearing no voices, I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please indicate by signifying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, we are now at public comment, which is our open forum. Do we have anyone listed for public comment, present or online?
We do have one email that was received. It's from Cordell Hendler. It says, "Hello, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and staff. I am submitting the following comments into the record. 1, the Commission is invited to the Senior Winter Ball next Saturday, December 16th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Richmond Auditorium at $45 per person. The update, number 2, the update is that the new Administrative Services Coordinator will come on board in 2024. And 3, also in the future, if the Recreation and Parks agenda can be released the Friday before. Sincerely, Cordell." And that was, no one else is requested to speak.
I'm sorry, I missed like the last sentence.
Also in the future, if the Recreation and Parks agenda can be released the Friday before. That is usually the case. Usually it's Wednesday or Friday. The latest is Friday. So.
Right.
So.
Yes. So it's like, did I hear that right?
Right.
But
So
okay.
I'm not sure.
So noted. Maybe there was a delay in the delivery on their end. It's a
That
possibility.
does happen.
But,
Sure.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Do we and no one?
No one else.
All right. Wonderful. So then let's move forward. Okay. Yes. Have to make sure that everyone remembers twice a year we do not meet on the first Wednesday. It's January and in July. So our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on the second Wednesday, January 10, 2023. We currently have $413.08 in the Commission Trust account.
2024.
Oh, you know what? You're right, 2024. Oops. So January 10, 2024. I do not want to relive this year. Okay. Yeah. Only if I could pick and choose. Anyway, and currently no membership changes have taken place, although I have heard that there's some action happening in the mayor's office for another one. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, I hope everyone got a chance to look over the minutes. And does anyone have any questions, edits, updates for the November 1st minutes? Okay. All right, hearing no hands, well, seeing no hands, although you could be clapping, I guess, or snapping your fingers, you know, it's like, yeah. Anyway, no one has indicated that you have anything you want to say. Please indicate by saying aye for those who approve.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposes? All right. The meeting minutes will stand.
I just have to register an abstention, so I wasn't at the meeting.
Oh, okay. Yep, that's right. Our vice chair was absent, so there will be an abstention, and rightfully so. There you go. All righty. Well, looks like our department reports are up. Mr. Hallaby, are you ready? It's a button below silver.
Like this?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Guess so.
Okay. So For our report this evening, we have some photographs here, some work at various locations throughout the city. It looks like these are parks maintenance staff dealing with debris and leaves. You know, it's a little bit difficult. I'm going to have to move this over.
Right, I was about to ask you. Goodness.
Okay.
There you go.
Doing some plantings. Are there any questions about this particular slide? We could move to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, so our general fund, it looks like we're doing some work here at various locations throughout the city. As you know, the general fund takes care of several parks throughout the city. Irrigation, tree planting, working on trimming some of the canopies for some of the trees. Okay, next slide, please. Some more general fund photographs. Looks like we have some tree stump removal, plantings, weeding, and even a concrete pour. We have multi-talented staff here. Next slide, please. More general fund photos. Lemoyne Park, a barbecue pit, tree trimming here at the library, repairing some playground structures, and cleaning up the creek at Booker T. Anderson Park. Next slide. So we do have a tree crew. There, one tree crew for all of the urban forest that we have. They have. Yeah, they'll never be caught up. Let me just put it that way with their work, because we have one crew. So it looks like here, whenever a tree falls down in the public right-of-way, then our folks are called out to remove the tree. And occasionally, when we don't have to deal with emergencies, we do have the opportunity to trim some of the canopies. Next slide, please. So Hilltop District, various repairs and weeding, and path repairs as well. Next slide, please. Over in the Marina District, looks like we have some work on the play structures at the beach and some of the planting areas. Next slide, please. So back in August, we received a report of a mountain lion sighting. So we had put up some temporary signs over at Lemoyne Park. Now we have a couple of permanent signs at Lemoyne Park, I think 3, and then one at the top of Morningside Drive. And this is the final slide. I can take any questions.
Commissioner Torres?
How often do the trees at the library need maintenance, and what kind of trees are they?
So I can't answer those questions. If you would like to know, I can inquire. And you're asking what kind and then how often are they maintained? Yeah. All right. I'll have to get back to you on that. It's sometimes difficult. It's difficult to maintain a schedule because of the large volume of trees that we are tasked with maintaining, and the fact that we have one tree crew. So usually we get around to working on tree canopy pruning when it's an urgent matter.
I was just informed that they're sycamore trees.
Oh,
Sycamore.
thank you.
Marcia shared the good news. Oh, okay.
Apparently we trim the canopies on an annual basis. Gee, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair Rowden?
With respect to the mountain lion sighting sign, what process is there for determining the reliability or authenticity of a report of a dangerous animal in one of our parks before we put up signs?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any authentication process. We received a report
Excuse
was
me, there was a picture, a photograph taken. Everybody has their cameras in their phones nowadays.
Well, I understand that, but other municipalities have also recently had reports of such wild creatures as tigers that turned out to be raccoons or wolves that turned out to be small dogs. And so I, I agree we should take caution and warn the public of real dangers, but I also don't want to dissuade people from using parks if they think there's mountain lions and there aren't.
What happened was a mountain lion killed a deer at Lemoyne Park and was eating it in the park. So it was there long enough that people took pictures of it. And I went up and located the area by the background in the pictures, and there was nothing there, no trace of a deer even. But the hill that goes up in back of Lemoyne Park there, apparently a coyote or a deer can easily jump over.
I just want to be clear, I'm not questioning that we, in this particular instance, need a sign. I'm just hoping that there's some way of authenticating that if somebody gets spooked and sees an animal, that we don't jump to alerting the public to the idea that the park might be unsafe unless we know that that's true.
Point is well taken.
Okay, looks like all the questions have been spoken. And you have anything else for us?
Not at this time.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Torres.
Well, if we're done with the report, I did have a question for Tawfiq. That's okay?
Sure.
Hi, I had emailed a while ago asking about the lighting situation at Shields Reed.
Yes, so we have the names of companies that rent portable lights that could be used on a temporary basis at the larger soccer fields, and then the basketball fields that are fixed lighting. We are looking into making the repairs.
The basketball ones you said? Oh, so they're still not up and running then?
To my knowledge, they're not up and running yet.
No. Is this another copper theft thing? What happened?
I don't have the details on me, but our staff did make a visit at night to go look and see what was going on, and they did look at the bases of the poles, and there were some wiring issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Also, I did want to ask about potential, so this might be a bigger conversation, the potential to convert the perimeter lighting at Shields Reed, and I'm glad Troy's here because he could probably lend a lot of insight about this, the possibility to convert some of the perimeter lighting around the sports field into field lighting. So what it would cost to upgrade the lighting in that area to be able to have more year-round use of that sports field?
certainly, we can take a look at that.
Especially because we do have 8 million for Shields Reed. It would be nice to see if there's a way that we could throw some of that towards improved field lighting.
I'm actually meeting about the permits next week, so it's kind of, I guess you can never say never, but it's kind of late in the game for adding more things to, the park reconstruction, so.
Right, no, and Shields Reed's, I mean, what's planned is going to be great.
Yeah.
It's just sad that in the process, the sports field wasn't identified as needing upgrades, and it really does. So I want to just keep that on the forefront, that when we're looking at funding at parks, we need to consider, I mean, that's why we haven't had soccer fields for so long. We need to consider ways of improving our sports fields, like lighting, so.
All right, seems as though conversation is complete. So thank you so much, Mr. Hallaby. Appreciate that. And Troy, looks like you are up, Mr. Porter.
Thank you so much. My name's Troy Porter, Recreation Supervisor, and I'm responsible for Nevin, Shields Reed, May Valley, where the mountain lion incident happened, and Parchester. And I run summer camps, after-school programs, and various adult programs. And I'm going to tell you what's going on in our department. So in a couple weeks, we're going to have our annual winter camp, and that'll run from December 18th. We'll be closed the 25th for Christmas, but we will have camp the 26th through the 29th. So far, we have about 30 kids registered. We usually get a late registration rush when people realize, oh, I need childcare or I need a camp. So we usually average about 50 with that camp. And we're actually going to have a snow slide built at Nickel Park. So where the putting green is, we have hay bales, 25 hay bales, and we have a company that's going to come and blow snow over the hay bales and all over the ground. It lasts usually 2 or 3 days, and the kids can actually bring their saucers out and slide down the man-made snow. So that will be let me see, 18, 19, like the 21st, and it'll be open to the public, yes.
Is it sliding or sledding?
It's all
No
of it,
sled,
so
they
they
just slide
just, yeah, so I mean, if you can imagine hay bales stacked up about 15 feet in the air, kind of like a step, and then they just blow snow, and then the kids can walk up the back, get on a saucer like you do at Lake Tahoe or anywhere else, and slide right down. And it's all contained within the putting green, so it's not, it's not a huge one, but we did it for the first time last year, and it was a big hit. And Santa even showed up and went down the slide himself, so it was pretty cool.
So
Yeah.
when the putting green was actually really usable,
Yeah.
I used it frequently.
Yeah.
I know it's not huge, so I'm guessing that they would, I guess the back of the slide is close to a fence, and then they have the space from the rest into.
Yeah, it's not a long slide, but yeah, they don't end up hitting the fence or anything, but yeah, it worked out perfect. I can, if you email me, I can send you pictures from last year. But the whole putting green was full of snow, and then, the little slide. So it was a pretty big hit last year.
Yeah, I remember seeing some pictures of that. It's just, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
really? Was there a slide? Okay.
And we're actually looking into maybe bringing a skating ring out. Now, it's too late to do it this year, but maybe next year have ice skating in the park, which would be something cool for Richmond residents.
So,
Next.
so if it's skating, would you flood an area and then have it freeze?
Well, for that one, they have synthetic ice. They're kind of like big sheets, but you still use regular ice skates, and they're not frozen. They're just synthetic.
So then you'd have to have a whole bunch of skates, because most people around here don't have their own ice skates, right? Do you rent them ice
So I
skates,
think
or
there's
you
companies,
provide 'em?
just like they do out at Point Richmond, that can, rent out skates or provide skates while they're out there. And like I said, we're in the research area,
okay.
but there are companies that do it, so it's doable. Next up, our annual candy cane tournament, which we hold at the Rec Complex in Richmond, PAL. We've been hosting this tournament for probably 30, 40 years. And I was just speaking to Maurice at the Rec Complex, and he said so far they have about 10 teams, and 10 and under division and 12 and under division, and they're looking for older kids. It's kind of tough to get the 14-year-olds because some of them are already playing high school, because 14 is like 9th grade. So that will happen again at PAL and the Rec Complex. Winter futsal will be starting in January, and that's one of our bigger leagues. We've had as many as 50 teams in certain years. I don't know what the numbers have been lately, but it's a big hit because, like she said, there's no lights in the on the fields, and it's raining, so it's another way to bring the soccer teams indoors so they can continue to train and compete, and it's a lot of fun. It's probably one of our bigger leagues in the city.
Can I add real quick?
Yeah.
I've been working with city staff on the futsal program. As of November 30th, there were 2, 4, 5, 10, 13 teams signed up.
Okay.
I know that they're hosting another info night on Monday, December 11th, 6:30 to 8:30. It's going to be similar to the last time, which is going to be a play date situation. People can sign up. Yeah, the deadline's approaching, but people do it last minute.
Yep.
I'm expecting a big rush at the end.
Yep.
I did want to comment that there is no more practice space available for teams that want to sign up. If you notice on the flyer, it does highlight that you have the ability to get practice space. It's really hard to find indoor space for sports right now. I mean, if you think soccer fields are hard, indoor courts are even harder, indoor spaces. So I'm really trying to push with city staff to use other places that we could use, like Dejeen, Arpal. I mean, there's opportunities to utilize the partnerships we have to expand practice space, because one practice a week is nice, but a lot of us are, especially normal, like recurring soccer players, do prefer 2 a week. That's kind of the recommended minimum. So I'm really trying to work with staff on that, and if I can help in any way, let me know. But I did want to make it known that we are out of practice space, and there are still a lot of teams that need to sign up, and we have nowhere to send them to practice. So.
Yeah. I know in the past, teams would sign up just so they could have the practice space. Okay, next. So this is about our swim lessons that they'll be registering for, and this is for January, I believe. Registration starts December 18th, but they also wanted me to let you all know that during the holiday break, they will be offering swimming from 9 to 2 at the plunge only. The Richmond Swim Center will be closed during the last 2 weeks of December. And some up-and-coming events. So the Richmond Annex Senior Center Holiday Party is actually for Richmond Annex senior participants, but they wanted me to let you all know that commission members are invited, as well as city staff. You guys are welcome to come. It'll be Friday, December 15th at 11:30 to 2:30. Senior Winter Ball, we still have tickets, and that will be on the 16th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and we'll have city staff serving treats, and we'll have entertainment, and it's always a good night out. And last week, we had our Christmas tree lighting. Hopefully, some of you were able to attend. We had it out in the lobby of the Richmond Auditorium, and Santa actually showed up on a fire truck this year, which was a big hit for the kids. We had our after-school programs perform. Shields Reed and Nevin Community Center, Mrs. Claus read a story for all the children. And we provided hot chocolate and goodies to everyone who attended. And I believe the kids went home with little gifts as well. So that was a really fun event. This is a fun activity that we were gifted not too long ago. It's at the Winter Wonderland Mansion at the historic Fioli Gardens. This is where President Biden just hosted President Xi just recently at the CPAC meeting. So I hear it's a very nice facility, and we're going to be there past dark because they have some kind of light show at night. And $5, and we have limited tickets for families. So it's first come, first serve. Snowball scholarship. So in the past, we used to have a huge snowball dance, but pre-pandemic, we kind of had to get away from the dance and focus more on the scholarship and the students who are competing, the kings and queens. So I wrote down, we have participants from El Cerrito High, Leadership High, Pinole Valley High, and De Anza. And I was told this year it was an open format, so there are actually 8 queens participating and 2 kings. So in the past, we had to have a king and a queen from each school, but they changed the format, so. And that'll be December 9th. I've been a judge in the past, and it's a really nice event, and it's great to see how talented our students are in the West Contra Costa School District. And look out for our winter activity guide. I think it's already out. I think it was sent out, and we have copies of it also at the rec complex. Oh, that's the final slide. Any questions?
Well,
Yes.
it's not a question. It's a comment
Okay.
that I was given about how wonderful it is for adults to have swimming lessons in Richmond. I was at a different event, and we invite people to, share something new or different from the last time that we met. And they said, "You're on that commission, right?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "I've been taking swimming lessons." So, great job.
Yeah.
Good news.
Yeah. That's one thing we always put into our summer camps because, kids in underserved neighborhoods, that's one thing that they don't get growing up if it's not purposely done is swimming lessons. Something we take for granted, those of us that had them. So we try to always get our kids out to the plunge or the Richmond Swim Center to expose them to being in water. It could save somebody's life someday or, at least break some of the fear. And it's a good thing also that we have it for adults, those who didn't get swimming lessons. So.
Yeah, she decided to go to continue it with private lessons as well.
Yeah.
And I hope you will be able to be a judge this year. I have a conflict on my calendar for that day. It's my mother's birthday,
Oh, okay.
and I keep that day dedicated for her. So, but all best.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah. Commissioner Torres?
What time is the judging of the Snowball Scholarship?
Is it on the flyer? I'm seeing very small writing, so. Oh, it's not on. I'll email Kim. If you can send me an email reminder. Oh, you'll make a note? Okay, thank you.
It's public, right? Like public can go and check it out? Okay.
Yeah, public can come sit in, yeah. No other questions? No. Thank you.
It doesn't look like it. Thank you so very much. Okay. So it looks like we've got presentation available for us from Ms. Valier. Yeah. No. Yeah. Oh. Thank you. Oh, there you go. Yeah. By the way, did I pronounce your last name correctly? Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Yes. Okay, thank you. Red light.
Thanks. I'm really bad with technology. My name is Marcia Vallier. I am now with CSW ST2. I'm a landscape architect, and I've had the privilege for the last probably about a year of working with the Urban Tilth group on a transformative climate communities-led climate solution, blah, blah, blah. It's a grant that we've been working on. Next slide, please. It's called the TCC grant. That's so much easier. Basically, what we're doing is the City of Richmond got a fairly large TCC grant, and it's been divided up into different projects, and this is one of the projects. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a universally accessible senior garden, and it's going to be going in Unity Park. And next slide, please. The park is going to, or the garden is going to be going in Unity Park. And if you take a look at Unity Park, it's right at 16th Street and Ohio. And there is an existing edible forest. And we're going to be creating the senior and ADA accessible garden to the east of the existing edible forest. So this was the before picture, and this is the now picture below. So we've made a pretty substantial dent in that area, creating a really active and very vibrant park. Next slide, please. And I would like to introduce my partner in the, the project. This is Our Lady Santos.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be back here. On July of this year, Daniel, and we are collecting information from our community to see exactly what our audience was looking when we are saying accessible garden. And we went to senior centers, disabled houses around Richmond, and we collect all the feedback that we could collect it, and we gave to Marcia and her team, and she put it this beautiful park, this beautiful accessible garden to us that was presented this week. And we are presenting today to you all so you can see everything that our community requests in our feedback sections. As you can see here, they requested seating areas to be gardening and seating at the same time. This will be accessible for the seniors. We are implementing as well beds that disabled folks with wheelchairs can be gardening. And finally, our schedule for this feedback section is almost at the end. We are in the final presentations now. This week will be the last week where we'll be presenting this draft to all our community again. So I'm coming back to the senior centers, hearing back if it is exactly what they request for, and making the final change. I will give in all the feedback for Marcia, and she can finalize the final changes. And I believe next year it is the construction phase.
So one thing I'd like to say about this project is that lady has gone out there and she has met with the users and listened, and it's been a beautiful process. So she's gone to senior centers, she's gone to National Institute of Art and Disabilities, she's gone to Vistability. So she's really worked hard, and in tandem with that, we have another project that we'd like to mention. It's the Rich City Rides e-bike lending library, which is the little brown square that Danny presented to you probably in July, I believe.
Yes. And I feel myself so lucky to be in connection with our community because they are really truly excited about it. In those meetings, they were not just requesting items for the garden, but they were requesting activities. The seniors were requesting workshops. The seniors were requesting cooking demos as well. So I'm really excited for 2024. And we are finally excited to be presenting this garden to our community. And they will be adopting for sure this space to keep Richmond safe and beautiful.
So the other thing that we've got, if you go back one slide, one of the things that we've done is we've tried to create a variation of the different types of garden beds. And the picture to the left shows the garden beds in kind of a labyrinth or a mosaic layout. And you can see that they're different heights. And we're trying to provide different types of beds for different types of users. You can see there's kind of the curved wooden with little pots that are set into it. That's our sensory garden, where people that have vision issues or are blind can touch and smell the plants, or people that just want to learn about the different plants can do that. We're looking to, in the long term, have little tags on them that are both written in the common name, the Latin name, as well as in Braille, so people can know what those are. There are beds that people in wheelchairs can roll up to. We have beds that you can sit down. We have beds that, like for instance, my dad, he can't sit down. He needs to stand, but he can't stand without a grab bar. He can do a walker, so the beds would be raised and higher in some locations with grab bars. So you can see we have a really broad type. The next slide shows there's a different type of bed in the curved area. If you look at there's a little rounded area. If you look at your plan view, we've got these stacked beds that are very similar to the garden beds at Berryland between 4th and 6th Street on the Richmond Greenway. We tried to repeat the elements within the Richmond Greenway and Unity Park to make sure that it all really hangs together and is very cohesive.
If I may, could you go back one more there? Is this picnicking in the labyrinth?
The picture on the left just kind of is a plan view that shows how the beds might be laid out so that they would have different spaces and different areas where people, and different sizes, different heights. Is that what your question was?
No, the question is, it looks like people are picnicking.
Yeah, and in this particular, I couldn't find another picture that didn't have picnickers, but people can do that if they'd like.
All right, no,
Yeah, absolutely.
Just checking if
Can't see.
that was truly what was happening or if there was something else.
Nope, they were picnicking.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And we have one more question.
I think I remembered an option for growing planters that made kind of a wall or a divider, and they had rows.
Very good. You've foreshadowed our next
memory.
slide. Good job.
Good memory. Before we move on for this slide, I would like to highlight the sensory garden that it is here in this picture right here. This was a request from a senior from Vistability Group here in Richmond for blind and low visual folks that they requested this part of the garden, and we are proud to be putting right here.
Plus, you can grab the herbs for dinner, if you need it.
Yes. So right here is her question.
There you go. Very good. So there's a couple of different types of beds that, again, a stand-up bed, somebody with a walker with a a bar that's on the right side. We've got these frames that we can put in the beds so that, you know, runner beans or peas or whatever can grow up the sides of those. And then we have these arch trellises that we were thinking about, and we'll see where we use those. But down on the bottom right, we were very excited. This is called an espaliered tree. It's very similar, Samantha, to those pollarded trees out there in the Civic Center main plaza space. And they're grown flat so that people with wheelchairs can roll right up to them and pick the fruit off of them. So we want to make sure that people have access on both sides, and that's why they're skinny fruit trees. You can do this one.
We have another items that those are the same items that you can see around the Unity Park and 6th Street as well. We are trying to follow the art and symbols that's already right there.
Yeah, we have the benches, the trash cans, the tables are accessible, handicap accessible, you know, ADA. The seats are a little shorter, so you can have people roll up to them. In some cases, sometimes we delete one of the seats, so wheelchairs can roll up on, you know, 2 or 3 along the table. The other thing that we are doing is we're going to be providing shade, and the shade would be done through shade sales, and that gives us, there were these posts that we designed and installed when we were doing Unity Park, and we were going to use them, this area was going to be a stage area, but we have these really cool posts that are there already that we can use for putting the shade sails on, and so we'll add a few more and we can get shade there. The other thing that we've got is we'll have an area where we can wash vegetables, and washing table, and there will be a drinking fountain. And then the last really important thing that the seniors and for instance, especially the NIAID community would do is help us with our Percent for Art, the public art. And we've had suggestions of murals and these really cool ceramic sculptures or totems, but we don't want to define the art, but we've created places for the art to happen. And the groups that lady has been out talking to would be many of the people that would be helping create that art.
Yeah, and we believe that while Marcia and her team will be going through the phase of the construction, I will be in the same time going back to those groups and deciding what type of art they want to see and choosing with them the art and looking for the
Right, yeah.
to finalize as well.
And we'll work with Winifred Day in the city. She's the arts and culture manager for the city. We'll work with her to make sure we go through that process. You know, one thing, sorry, we just both love this project so much. We've got a couple of different textures on the ground plane. We've got concrete, which is very easy to walk on, but we also have, we're looking at doing pavers in some areas so it's permeable, so we can make sure that we don't create any stormwater issues. And then we also have decomposed granite in and around the beds. The other thing that does is it creates a textural difference when somebody that is maybe with a cane or on a wheelchair or whatever, when you go over those pavers, you know, it tells you you're in a different area, and the crunch of the garden, the decomposed granite under your feet or your wheels or your walker, that tells you you're in different areas if you have issues with sight. The other thing that we're looking at, I think, hopefully the next slide. Yes. This is something that's really important. Lady heard a lot about this, so I'll let you talk more about it.
Thank you. Again, for the folks that has low visibility, we will be implementing those walkthroughs so the garden can be directed for them as well.
And we were looking at things like chimes and, again, Braille on our signage so that we're truly inclusive because, next slide. Okay, you take this one.
Because everyone is welcome at our garden, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Any other question or comment?
Well, first, thank you very much. I don't know if you all have gotten all the way down into the weeds when it comes down to certain things, but I know that there are forms that can be put in the area where you, does it look like gravel? What is that? Yeah. So there are forms that you can put down, like say you put about maybe 2 inches of that, and then there's another form that you can put down in there, and then you rake the rest of it in, and part of it is helpful to keep it from getting kicked out. It allows the rain to go through and things like that, so just,
You know, that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So the decomposed granite is still permeable, but what we'll do is we'll put a polymer or a stabilizer in it so that it doesn't displace when people walk over or roll over it. So you're right, we'll have edges around it so that it doesn't, you know, creep out, and we'll put it down in those layers or those lifts, so it's stable.
well, actually, I guess I wasn't being as clear. When I say forms, I don't necessarily mean the sides around it. There are things that are actually inside. Like, have you ever seen those, it's almost like the cookie cutters that you can use on cement to put the, right, so they
Oh, I
have
see, yeah.
some that are for granite or gravel, you know, the crushed stuff, and you put that in there to make sure that it stays put.
Right.
And you don't have to replace it as frequently.
Oh, I
and-
see what you're saying. Yeah, it's kind of like grasscrete. It's these blocks or rings or whatever that you put in there to make sure that it doesn't displace. Is that what you're talking about?
Right, it kind of, I could show you better that I can describe it, but they're interlocking forms. that you would
Exactly,
put-
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I see what you're saying, yes. We were actually just going to use the stabilizer to hold the decomposed granite in place. Instead of, the stuff that you're talking about a lot of times is used for when people drive on it, but that's not a bad idea for us to consider and think about. So thank you for that.
Because, I mean, the stabilizer only lasts so long, especially
yeah.
with exposure to the
Yeah,
elements.
it is a maintenance thing that, you know, like every 5 years, you need to put the organic polymer over the top, and it soaks in, and, you know, so there is maintenance with that, but the good thing is it stays permeable. So, and it's much, much less expensive than concrete or pavers, so.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, Commissioner Torres?
Firstly, thank you for this work. Just on a personal anecdote, I do have a friend who lives on 16th, really close to there, and they have their family that have a child who's wheelchair bound. Valentina's gonna love this. So thank you for the work you're doing on this. I know it's gonna be, especially for this particular family, gonna be very special, meaningful for them. I'm trying to piece together, maybe I just need to see a bigger picture. Can we go back to the map of the before and after? I'm trying to locate it in my brain where exactly this is. Is this between Dirt World and, okay, all right.
Yeah, right here, as you can see in my right here, it is Dirt World, right here. And you walk all the way down, you'll see Unity Park. So the accessible garden will be between Unity Park, that it is right here, and 17th Street.
Perfect, okay, sorry. I'm comparing it to Google Maps because
Yeah.
that's how I piece it together.
If you put it down 1605 Ohio Avenue, you'll be at Unity Park.
Okay.
And from there, in your right, you'll see the edible forest in this area. And then it will be, right now it is an empty area, right here. It is an empty area, but 2024 will be our accessible garden for sure.
Awesome, I just wanted clarity on the location. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you all. Yeah, right here you can see the dumpsters. Normally, when we host any other event for our community, we open spaces right now that it is an empty space to collect the trash as well.
So the dumpsters are where the future soccer field's gonna be, right?
No.
No, other side. See,
That's
I'm
on
all
the other
mixed up.
side. You're getting there.
Soccer field, and then will be the accessible garden. It is really nearby each other.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I think we are done for today, right? Yes. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you all.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Could we get the presentation sent to us, please?
It's a great job. We appreciate the presentation. Is there anything that you need from us? Nope.
No, we just wanted to inform you and keep you in the loop since it's one of your parks and it's just such a cool project. We just wanted to share. So thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, and I feel that as you all are connected with more organizations than us, if you know anyone that needed this time, like folks with wheelchairs and needs that for use of this garden, it is a great connection. Connect us with them so they can use the space as well, because when this garden is built, it will be a community garden, and they can adopt this spot and keep this garden alive as well.
Marcia, actually, I thought of another question. I wondered about when people were giving their ideas and everything. I kind of remember, I don't know whether it was you or somebody else there was saying, "Oh, then we can apply for a grant for that." But I had previously thought that that whole stretch was funded by Proposition 68, and that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so basically what the deal was we have a TCC grant for the ADA garden right now, and we also have a TCC grant for the Rich City Rides e-bike lending library. We have applied for, and we didn't get it, but we'll keep applying, to fund the rest of Unity Park and also to fund Boyd Park, the renovation of Boyd Park. We didn't get either of those. To answer an earlier question, just because I'm a pain, there is a lighting grant that the city was looking at using to fund lighting in parks. One of them was Shields Reed. One of them was Booker T, et cetera. We've got a few that we recommended. And then the other, Council Member Robinson might be able to share more about park funding for you as well.
It's keeping longer, but sorry, I would like to emphasize that this garden, it will be the first accessible garden in Richmond, and we still look for something similar in Bay Area, and we couldn't find, right? So it will be a really incredible addiction, and like something more for Richmond, showcase like how fast we are growing and how inclusive we are, including all Richmond residents.
Just wanted to echo that sentiment, actually, since you brought up that this would be kind of a first for the Bay Area. My mother is a person who uses a wheelchair, particularly in outdoor spaces, and when she comes to visit the Bay Area, she wants to see, the botanical life and whatnot, and has frankly had a very difficult time getting around the available resources. And I think it'll be amazing to showcase that Richmond is leading the way on that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Of course, we'll be happy to welcome her in our cooking classes at the garden. And right now, my team, from the Greenway team, we are looking for accessible gardens that we can go just to take a look, take a vision, understand how it works. And it is hard. We are having a hard time to look for accessible gardens around us so we can get inspired. So maybe we are just including the project and somebody else will get inspired from us.
Just occurred to me, I didn't hear anyone mention, or maybe I missed it. Is there a restroom?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so here's what we're doing. There is a restroom at 16th Street. However, we feel, and the surveys that were done, we feel that that might be a little too far. So the building that's there, which is the e-bike lending library, will have a restroom, and we're looking at having it be shared with the garden. So it'll be closer, so seniors and people with disabilities. I have a brother that's Down syndrome, and when his group goes visiting or goes to a place, they stay in a fenced area, and wandering a block away to go to the bathroom is something that they won't allow. So having something close that people can walk to. The other thing I didn't mention is we have a low 4-foot fence around the outside, not necessarily to keep people out, but to keep people that might wander, like Mike, sort of in and around the garden. So.
Thank you. I did miss that. I was looking, I said, wait a minute.
Oh, no, it is right there when you
Yeah.
see this brown.
Yeah, I got it, number
Yes.
12. All right.
Rectangle will be right there, the bathroom.
Okay. Okay, I think you get to go this time. Thank you. You're getting your steps in. Thank you again very much. Okay. You know what? So, did you all meet?
We've been talking about potential projects. Want to talk about it, Allison?
We didn't exactly meet, and we haven't talked about limiting, but we have,
Throwing ideas around?
yeah, we're talking about some different ideas for parks. Samantha had an idea of banning plastic water bottles as we apparently some parks, but not all, provide water. And her idea is as more parks provide water, then in those parks we would ban plastic water bottles.
So for
sort
clarity,
of,
are you
yeah.
talking about single-use bottles? Or
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, just making sure, because some reusables are plastic or
Sure.
BPA-free, but,
I think the heart of what Allison is saying is true, but specifically what I'd like to do is, as we hopefully convert our drinking fountains to water bottle refill stations, we can start also doing an educational campaign. I know, for at least in my experience with my soccer kids, parents will bring a 24-pack of water bottles to the game. And it's like, well, I mean, if these kids just carry their own water bottles, and if their parks are providing water bottle refills, why would we need to do that? But the reality is, a lot of our parks do not provide water bottle refills. MLK does not provide and that's our sports field, does not have a water bottle refill station.
I've been working on that, and I was successful in getting the City of Richmond a free fountain that also had a water bottle filler. And
What happened?
I did not necessarily agree with the park that they decided to put it in, because that wasn't where it was being requested. So, yeah, I'm on board with you on that.
Yeah, I think especially if we tie it into youth sports or organized sports, and we start working at the higher volume parks that have a lot, like for example, Little League's gonna start soon. It'd be great to have water bottle refill stations to start talking to families, hey, we are gonna try to phase out single-use water bottles from our sports parks. Maybe even provide free reusable water bottles to all youth sports participants. I don't know, that could be a fun project. we can get sponsors and design a new bottle every year. So I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there. But in terms of how I see something like this happening is we have to tie it in with infrastructure changes, because people need to see that, okay, asking people, because especially immigrant folks and people of lower means, if you will, the idea of having to sacrifice some of these comforts without exchanging that for like a replacement. Like, sure, a lot of people have no problem giving up single-use water bottles, but a lot of people rely on them because of the convenience, because of cost, because of whatever. So we need to be able to find a replacement for that. And I think youth sports is a good way, because it's also a way to educate the youth about it. I know I tell my soccer kids to bring water bottles, and yet when I go to MLK, I still find half-drunk water bottles, single use, strewn about on the field. So if there's some way we could tie it into that, and I don't know. So we can talk more about this later, but I think we could tie that into some sort of sustainability projects.
Sounds good to me. Yes, Commissioner, Vice Chair Rowden.
With respect, I actually really like the idea of trying to phase single-use water bottles, especially out of like programming aspects. I think it'll be a little bit harder to enforce it in terms of just somebody walking through the park, but certainly if we're looking at organizational level use of it. One thing I think we always need to be aware of when talking about something like, well, let's provide a water bottle or something like that, is the sort of reusable bag problem, where everybody highlights their sustainability by producing reusable bags, and suddenly you have a glut of reusable bags, and then they're not really either being reused, or they're not, it's not a actually efficient allocation of resources. So I certainly would love to make sure that youth are provided with a water bottle. I just want to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel, because I know, like, for instance, the school districts often provide kids with water bottles, and eventually we'll get to the point where kids have more water bottles than they need, and then we're using the plastic anyway, so are we making the best amount of difference? So I think coordinating the effort would be great, but I fully support it.
I agree, as one of those moms who has a bunch of reusable bags at home that I somehow always forget. I agree but I think the education element is going to be key to this. I think incentivizing it, I don't know exactly how. I also want to mention, I forgot to mention it, the National Park System is going to implement a single bottle use ban, and they're starting to phase them out by 2025, I think. So, I mean, this is not radical or new. This is happening on a national level to be able to reduce this. So, yes, it is going to go hand in hand with education and also water bottle refill stations. Like, we really need to find. We can't give people we can't take that away and then not give them other options.
Okay, I was going to suggest maybe we could make a recommendation that we'd like to have water refill stations. And I know from some of my other work that you can get, for instance, water bottles with logos on them, or stuff like that, and we could look into something like that, either for the teams or for the parks or for special events or occasions, and encourage people to use them. Do you have a sense of whether the people that have a lot of water bottles and the kids that have a lot of water bottles, do you have a sense of why they're not using them? Is it just they forget, or they don't keep them in their car, or they don't keep them in the park, or?
I don't know it's that they're not using the water bottles, is that they have more water bottles than they need, because most kids need one or maybe two if they're particularly active. But I know my son gets water bottles at events and through various means, and we go somewhere and there's a community event, there's often a free water bottle as part of a gift bag or something like that, and they're great. But he's a relatively active kid, but he probably needs one that's being washed and one that's clean and ready to use in any given week, more so than needing the 4 or 5 water bottles that I'm sure if I rounded them all up I could put out for him. So it's just and I know he got one from his school, and I know he gets them here and there. So it's not, and it's not to say that nobody needs a water bottle. They certainly do, and I certainly want us to be part of the solution of making sure that everybody has one. But if I think it's important that we target gaps and not just recreate an existing, distribution system of that resource, particularly because most of those water bottles are also plastic and energy intensive to produce in their own right.
I think that if we provide free water, it's a better option. Um, and then with education and whatnot, then the containers are extra. But as long as there's a way to drink it, even without a container, for those who forget it, that would also go a long way.
Yeah, it's very rare to see a water dispenser that does not still allow you to just drink it or, put a cup on it or whatever. It's the bottle filling stations usually are not without. So we should be good on that one. When you do see it, it's rare. Especially the fact that so many people, especially in traveling and going back and forth, and even just to keep themselves hydrated while they're out on a walk, people do that. And if you've seen any around here, please let me know where it is so that I can take a picture of it and say, okay, let's do something about this dinosaur.
My water bottles are like stainless steel, or they're silicone or stuff. I don't usually buy plastic ones. I think the plastic tastes bad too. Maybe we can get some that aren't plastic.
I think that's also worth looking into. I just know that more often than not, and this is why the plastics are a problem, is that the easiest and cheapest way to get something to a lot of people is plastic, unfortunately. But we don't have to go with the easiest and cheapest way, and I'm not suggesting that we necessarily do.
I mean, the water bottle idea, I think for me, the core of this is the ban on single-use water bottles, so that for organized sports and maybe even like picnic table rentals and birthday party rentals, maybe that can be part of like the policies involved that. So when there's large groups, programs, activities, there's an understanding already of that policy. The water bottle idea was just kind of like throwing it out there like as an incentive, or just kind of like a carrot. But I mean, I can give or take with that. I think more important to me is that we look at funding for replacing water fountains with water bottle refill options. And if we could do water bottles, and if we could do stainless steel, if we could, why not? But I will say, as a mother of a toddler, do not consider glass, because
No glass in public places. Most beaches and parks and whatnot, they have it right up there. No glassware. Yeah. Oh, yeah, but not for kids. No. Okay. Due to a few things, Maren and I were not able to meet regarding this, but we're still working on it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, Commissioner reports. Chair Rowden, Vice Chair Rowden.
I just wanted to say that the Halloween festivities at the Parchester Community Center and after-school program were at least a big hit in my household, for sure. And my understanding is it was very well received by the community, and I wanted to give a shout out to the staff there and for everybody who participated in that. That's what I've got.
Thank you. Secretary Blakely.
So yeah, there's pretty much what I did in the written down there in the Google Docs. But yeah, did miss the May Valley NC meeting because I had to work. This is kind of my busy season, the holidays. But I'm looking forward to getting through here, and I am still looking for a couple more people for the Fire Safe Trees group. So I'm still working on that.
Thank you. See who hasn't gone yet. Commissioner Torres? Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped you, Commissioner Lannis.
Dirt World is still under construction, or reconstruction, but it should be done in a couple of weeks.
What is under?
Dirt World Bike Park. I'm sure there's some extra delays with rain and whatnot. But for the new year, I would assume we should be able to go and enjoy it.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Torres?
A couple of updates. So as of last night, hopefully, Councilmember Robinson's going to share a little bit more about this, but we did get some funding approved for soccer fields. Yay! Unfortunately, it got kind of mixed in with other park stuff. Boo! No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I want multiple amenities. I was just hoping that a little bit more would have gone to soccer, but I think ultimately what was decided was they combined soccer and parks funding, $4.2 million, I think was what was decided. So the goal is to use the majority for soccer fields. As I listed out here, there's a couple of parks that already have some, on the short list of how to dedicate those funds towards soccer. One thing I was still not clear on, and hopefully I can get an update, is what's going on with the Borman Park remediation. I do know from the community who's reached out to me about this, the grant expires in June. So if they're unable to fund the remediation, we could possibly lose grant money for the park remodel, which does include a small soccer field, independent of my rabble-rousing. They had planned that, so excited for that. And then I attended the November 14th Winter Futsal Info Night. 50 kids showed up. It was wild. So many kids that have never played before. And if you know soccer, it's different than soccer. It is fast-paced. You use slightly different skills. So for a lot of kids, they wanted to see what it was like, to see if it was for them. It's not for all kids, it's not for all. But we did have 50 players, and as was mentioned earlier, it is one of the more, I wouldn't say more popular because there are a lot of popular programs, but it's a very heavily enrolled, I guess you would call it, league. I did also want to mention that the flyer does include BTA Community Center for futsal programming, so meaning that when staff was planning for it, BTA was on the table. And now it's not, and they're actually looking for funding for the remodel. So I don't know if any funding was dedicated to BTA. I don't know when it's supposed to reopen, but it's really concerning to me that our own city staff was informed of access to a facility and they planned accordingly, and now they're not being given access. And they also don't have a date to when to expect to use it. It's been 3 years, so I'm hoping to get an update on that from somebody. As I mentioned earlier, there's another futsal night planned for December 11th. There's the kids will be able to play from 6:30 to 7:30. It's the U6, U8, and U10 kids, so kids who are 10 and younger can play from till 7:30, and then the older kids, almost teens, are welcome to play 7:30 to 8:30. It's a lot of fun if y'all want to come over. A lot of energy, and then also I will be participating as a referee, so I've got my license, and I will be there supporting. For free, I'm not going to be charging anybody to do that. And I may have to be forced to coach a U14 girls team. And I say forced not because I don't want to, it's because I want to support the program as much as I can, and coaching would take away from that. But I'm trying to convince some parents to step up and coach, so we'll see. JPA update. The winter permits for Tom Bates began last week. We have the Richmond clubs have Tuesday nights at Tom Bates. Actually, it's my mistake. It's North Turf Field. We are in the challenge phase right now for acquiring practice space for spring 2024. I have about 9 field challenges that have been unresponded to, so that will typically go to mediation process where the city will ultimately make the final call. And then again, I wanted to ask about policy about allowable signs at parks, courts, and fields, and then also what our policy is, or if we even have a policy about consistent translations. It seems like some of our signs translated into Spanish are more like about the rules and like what not to do, as opposed to some of the signs that have more about etiquette. Like tennis courts have certain etiquette rules. Pickleball has etiquette rules. Even futsal, the Wendell Park courts. So to be able to translate those into Spanish, I know that this is probably a second or third time I've asked for a policy on what our allowable signs are. So I will follow up with staff on this so that hopefully by the new year, we have something publicly available for people to know what they can and cannot post in public spaces. And that it's consistent across all of the orgs. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Torres. I have been doing my rounds. I noticed that it seems like the Stewart Play Lot has received a fresh amount of chips, wood chips, just before rain. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to retain them. How it came up was either they got flooded out or something, but there was, I was actually able to measure like a good 4 inches of water in the play lot. And now, hopefully, we're not going to have that worry, because I also saw a lot of grass growing up in between it and whatnot, but it's looking better. Our Civic Center Plaza is always looking good. I rarely see anything questionable as far as what staff can do about it. It's like occasionally there are people hanging around doing things that I wouldn't necessarily advertise, but you know, there's that. Let's see. Oh, I learned about, it was kind of last minute, or else I would have let you all know about it too. There, on November 14th, there was the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. And it happened in a few places around our area, but this one was for the Michelle Obama School. And they met at, oh, doggone, I can't believe I forgot the name of the park. But anyway, the park that's just like a couple of blocks away from there. And it's a fairly popular park. Yes, thank you. It's like I'm by there all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, Solano, thank you. It was great to witness all of the children participating in this. And it's a thing that has been happening in California for a little while, and they actually have official swag, and the color is purple, so I'm really down for that. It's my favorite color. But it was great. I got a chance to talk with the principal and a few of the organizers, and they were just like, oh, you're from the commission? Yeah. They're like, well, thanks for letting us use the park. I'm like, well, I don't think we would have, denied you being able to use the park, but we're glad that this was a good place that everyone could meet up. So that, among with a whole bunch of other things that have kept me busy in November, is my report. Okay, so for our upcoming meeting, I made the request and it may have fallen off the table. I know that Ranjana's not here tonight, so I'll follow up with her when she gets back as far as our Brown Act and other, Robert's rules and Weisenberg's rules of what we use here. So need to have someone come and talk with us about how this goes. I know we spoke about that. It was either September or October, so we're moving forward with it early in next year. Also, something I've talked about here at the dais as well as with Ranjana is to try to get us a nice parks tour that is specifically for us. Yes?
So earlier this week, I sent out a doodle poll and have only received 2 responses that went to everyone. So
Okay.
there were 4 different dates, so check your email.
All right.
Chair
Will
Smith.
do.
And yeah,
Thank you.
so thank you to those who responded. And
Okay.
yeah, so just check that.
All right, great, fabulous. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Yes, Vice Chair.
Well, I guess it's a sort of an agenda-setting thing, but I do want to request that for our next meeting, whoever is giving the presentation on behalf of Public Works, I would also like an update on what is going on with the signs and language issues. We had discussed that at length at a meeting long enough ago that it was still on Zoom. And at that time, it was my understanding was that we were supposed to be working toward having more equity in the available information in signage, whether that was going to be physical signs or some sort of technological remedy. So I am concerned that the signage in Spanish and possibly other languages of note in our community are still tending towards the regulatory and perhaps disciplinary as opposed to informative. And I really think that remedying that situation is necessary to fulfill a mission of having equity and access to our public spaces.
So noted.
Excuse me, Commissioner, what are you asking for Public Works? We're going to come back here and do what?
To report on what is being done with respect to making sure that the signage in our parks, as it is available in languages other than English, reflects an equal quality and quantity of information.
Are there guidelines?
That's what I've been asking.
Are there city standards, Richmond Municipal Code or City Council set forth the expectations or anything like that?
We have been making inquiry about that and not getting a whole lot of information back, but Mr. Hardesty has made some efforts, some of our symbols, and also worked on QR code type thing, but it's still just scratching at the surface. And it has taken what seems to be an exceptionally long time to get some things put in place. Some are there, but I mean, let's put it this way. If it were a seriously hazardous thing, like for instance, the temporary signs that were out for the mountain lion, I'm sure it didn't take 3 or 4 months for that. So when we are trying to make sure that our residents and visitors are able to enjoy our parks, part of that is knowing what's okay and what's not okay.
I can provide insight into why the mountain lion signs went up quickly. Because somebody decided which sign to put up and where to put them. That was me. And then I gave a direction to staff to do it. So if you want more signs at more parks, we would need some somebody to identify what are the signs, where to put them, how many at each park, that kind of
Excuse
thing.
me, originally, what incited this whole thing about the signage was that there was an incident in one of the parks where someone had dogs off leash and not under voice command, and the dog actually bit a woman who had to be taken to the hospital. And I was told that they couldn't do anything about it unless we had signs posted saying that dogs had to be on leash, posted at every entrance to the parks. So
so who
we've been
made-
working on this ever
yeah.
since.
Okay, that's fair. Who made that statement? Richmond Police Department?
What was that?
Who made the statement that they couldn't do anything about it?
If there is no sign posted, we cannot enforce the leash law.
Oh, leashes, okay. Not the biting. I mean, the individual who was bitten has recourse to,
Yeah, well, so what his
the-
idea was is to have multilingual or symbolic signs and a QR code for people to use in case of an emergency, who to call, because apparently people didn't know who to call. Should they call animal control? Should they call some official of the park system? So yeah, that was part of the idea also.
well, we'll probably need more conversations to flush out what the expectations are. It's not clear to me what the expectation is. I mean, we could put up a sign that says no dogs off leash.
Yeah,
But that's not really what you're asking for. You're asking for more than that.
we're asking for the policy.
Yeah,
What's the
there are
policy?
there are
Okay,
laws and regulations and rules for people to obey when they use our parks. Like, we do not allow smoking in the parks, for instance. And yeah, dogs have to be on leash and people have to clean up after their dogs. But we cannot enforce this unless there is a sign saying that.
Okay, Richmond Municipal Code is the law of the land. Public Works staff is not an enforcement arm of the city, and Public Works staff doesn't create city policy. So, we're happy to look at the Richmond Municipal Code and see which sections apply to parks. In fact, I've been to many parks in Richmond, and there are signs that have a list, no alcohol, no drugs, no dogs off leash, and it states the code section 15 point what have you.
There are signs, but not at all the entrances. For instance, in Tiller Park, what I was requested to do was to visit the parks and list the parks that needed signs and how many. So yeah, I was checking to see if there was a sign telling people the park rules at each entrance, and there are not. So we need to do that.
Well, that's clear.
If somebody gets bitten by a dog, that is violating the safety of the people in the park.
Okay. That's very clear. What you just said, Commissioner, was clear, but some of the earlier conversation is just not clear what's being asked. So, we have the Richmond Municipal Code. We can put up signs. We can put up signs at multiple entrances to parks. We can maybe put signs up in more than one language. That I can comprehend. But if there's more things, then we should have more kind of roundtable discussions in particulars and maybe particular
The last
parks
time
and
Greg
things.
responded to our query about the progress, he said it had been sent to a multilingual person to check the grammar, and we haven't heard anything since.
Okay.
I think, Tawfiq, to your point, I do want more clarity on non-safety signs as well. For example, I've gone to the futsal courts at Wendell Park, and there are people just standing around waiting, and I'm like, aren't you supposed to leave after 30 minutes? They're like, well, we don't know. First of all, all these kids were all Spanish speaking. So I know that there's a sign posted, but if it's not in Spanish, and the majority of people there are Spanish speaking, then it's not going to be helpful to them. But also, if there is going to be etiquette signs, then they should be available in more than one language. And if there is multilingual signage, it shouldn't only be for like the disciplinary safety stuff. I feel like if there are variances in how signs are applied, and there is a policy to justify why, cool. Otherwise, this is how institutional racism happens. So if we're just like nilly-willy putting up signs in multiple languages or not in multiple languages without consistent policies applied widely, that's how misinterpretations happen. I also want to say that at an organizational level, what kind of organizations are allowed to have what kind of signs, we also need to be clear with that, because if you go to Nickel Park, the tennis courts have a ton of Richmond Tennis Association signs. There are also some city signs, but there are pieces of paper laminated that are put up on the gates, specifically stating no soccer, no dogs. But the city signs also say that. So that's what I mean is why, so in some cases there's redundancy in English, and in some cases there's non-city programs putting up signs, and then other non-city programs being told that they have to remove their signs. So without the clarity in policies, it does appear that there is bias. And this is not on you, Tuffy.
Yeah, I know,
This is just general.
Yeah,
I mean, this is.
I get it. It looks like we have some work to do as a community. And I would also maybe, not to put anybody else on the spot, but we probably need some help from our recreation staff members to kind of help. I mean, Public Works, we have certain things that we're good at, and recreation folks, you have certain things that you're good at.
We usually say that's a Public Works question. No.
You see what we've been going through.
Pardon me?
It's a lot of this.
Okay.
A lot
Well,
of that.
let's
You know, but
I'm down to form a work
we
group, yeah.
realize that we have a limitation in staff and budget and the like, but what it is that we can get done, it's great to be able to get done. And if the more we can work together, awesome. It's just, you know, when you're talking with a person and that's your liaison and you're getting little teeny tiny nibble bits here and there, it makes it hard to put things together. So I look forward to working with you, Mr. Hawley.
Likewise, and you know, I'm a city employee, so I have regular working hours, and I would be happy to set up a time to meet with any of the commissioners to visit a particular park, or to brainstorm ideas about how we can think about policies and stuff. Again, Public Works staff does not create city policy, but we can think through things and help get some ideas out then that could
Well,
this
as-
commission in their wisdom could adopt or pass
Right.
on to city council.
As we work things out, then we are able to share with our liaison on the city council. Is that about how that goes?
You want to
Yeah.
Contribute?
Yeah.
you want to participate?
You're always welcome. You don't have to wait. In fact, if you would like, I can make sure that you're on the agenda. Okay, we'll do that. That way you get to speak out without having to be asked to unseat and relocate.
So I think this whole issue that you guys are talking about is actually a really good one to take on maybe for next year as a task force or a working group. I think that, you know, what it probably needs is kind of leadership from the commission working with the recreation staff, because I know that LaShonda and Tite and everybody, I've also talked about sign policy, and it seems like folks are working in silos. And so if we could get kind of a working group / task force, whatever you want to call it, from your commission to work together with, you know, key members of recreation. And it's really Public Works who puts the signs up, not so much creates the policy on the sign.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
And, you know, I mean, I know you all try to help in those areas, but you really should be working with the recreation staff to get the policies and then bring forward the recommended policy if it's divergent from municipal code, or if it's not articulated in our municipal code, right? But I think you guys have a ton of of power to actually make these changes and put them forward. It's not something that would even go to council unless it's changing some kind of.
Unless it's
legal-
municipal code
Yeah.
related, but otherwise, if it's just working together to improve something, it doesn't have to go to council.
Where I see, like she said, you have a lot of power is the signage in all the parks is convoluted. There's signs from the 60s, there's signs from the 70s, there's signs from the 80s.
Yeah.
Even the signs in the 2000s, I had them removed from all the community centers because they were saying, no hoodies, no touching, no cussing, no, and they were just inappropriate to me.
Oh,
So-
folks had a fit about those. I
Yeah.
went in for a neighborhood council meeting. I'm like, what is that? Who said that was okay?
That's a whole nother story, and I didn't agree with it when they went up. But anyway, so, yeah, like she said, it's something like a task force or somebody should look, and it should be, like she said, citywide, but it's a huge undertaking, so I would say.
To that
start
end-
at, the parks that are heavily used, and, and like, there's not a policy for every single thing. We can over policy, it's more about, hey, let's be respectful. Let's not let dogs go bite people. Let's let other people use the fields when it's their turn, type of things. So it's not that hard, but like I said, we got to just get all on the same page and be up to date with, how we think today, not 1967.
Yeah, that makes sense. So once we do have, at least a good core of what it is that we need to have to move forward, not only should it be out and about, and commissioners, you have your park assignments. So if you see something in your specific areas that are in need, definitely, let's bring this forward. But we also, we've spoken about this before. It's something that I figure we all agree on. It needs to be on the website as well and easily accessible, because our city website can be a bit convoluted. So, this is one of those things where the idea of the QR code, I'm like, well, not everybody's going to have that availability, but for those who can use it, great. It's the idea that unless you're going to have a turnstile with 4, 5, 7 different languages on there for everything, you got to figure out a way to make it happen. And this is not the place to do all of the in the weeds type thing, but do we have any particular folk who are specifically interested in the signage? Okay, so we've got one.
Can I also make one more recommendation? Just
Yeah.
considering the amount of work that is, if you really want to do it right and have it in all the right languages and have addressing all the different things, usage as well as, no's, that maybe this is something that you would kind of work with recreation to bring to council to get consultant support on, so that, you all have your volunteers, this is probably like a considerable amount of work. And you could be more advisors on this task force, but bring in a consultant who can do like the vast majority of the work. They can haul the water and you can more direct, give feedback, things like that. And that's something that you would bring to council to get support on, the financial support, which we approve things like this all the time. And especially if it's going to be focused and it's going to resolve a problem, you might be able to have a comprehensive response and get it all done in a year instead of, piece by piece.
Yeah.
There might be cities out there that are doing it better than we're doing right now, and just maybe researching instead of recreating the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Can I offer some stuff before we close? I feel like last night, Parks really won in the allocations of ARPA. Can I offer?
The allegations of what?
The ARPA allocations happened
yes,
last night.
okay. Thank
So we had $8.6 million left in ARPA to allocate, and of that 8.6 million, 5.6 went to parks. And it went to parks in these ways. By and large, the largest allocation for any line item out of the allocations for ARPA went to soccer fields, 3.9 million. It was the most that any line item got in any category. We also added to that $250,000, and that's for general park improvements. So that's for any like resurfacing of basketball courts, signs, anything like that that would help improve parks across all of Richmond parks, $250,000. These things have to be spent within a couple of years, so it's like near-term projects.
Great.
With that, we also allocated $1 million to fill the gap in BTA, so we can finish the renovations at BTA and get that center back up and going. We also allocated $500,000 for the Nevin HVAC system, Nevin Community Center. And then another pot of money that we actually decreased, so I'm not exactly sure what is and isn't going to get funded, but there was a larger pot that was for capital projects that have shortfalls. They asked for 5.9. We kind of reallocated a bit. We ended up with 3 million. Of that 3 million, Borman was included in one of the capital projects that has a shortfall. Unfortunately, Borman, as I understand it, keeps finding more problems. And so the shortfall at one point was like 500,000, and then it went to 1.5 million, and the last count, it was like 6 million. And this is because of the contaminated soils and having to deal with the contaminated soils and have them go in the places that they need to go. And then they found some other problem recently, and I heard that, you know, another 6 million might be on top of it, top of the 6 million before. So Borman has issues, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to allocate the remaining 3 million for closing the gaps in the capital improvement projects that are in motion. These are all things that are like grant funded that are finding budget gaps because of escalation or because of, you know, unknown projects or problems that have arisen since they started the project. So, but the short of it is that Parks really won last night. They definitely got, you know, well over half of the ARPA allocation is going to our parks and our recreation facilities. So I feel like that's a big win, and it's a good thing.
Good. Go ahead.
Can I ask you, what's happening with Miraflores? Don't look like that. Please don't look like that.
I had to breathe first for that one. So you all know that the Miraflores property has gone into bankruptcy. The owners of Miraflores have declared bankruptcy, and they were to go back a little bit. You know, unfortunately, someone before my time on City Council signed the Miraflores property over to the developers without getting the proper they were supposed to get some construction contracts and documents from folks and have it be approved before they signed over property. That was what the original agreement was. They signed the property over before the construction designs were approved. The Miraflores developers then went out and got about $11 million in loans on that property, and then they defaulted on at least 2 of those loans, and went into the property then was put up for auction in order to repay the money that they had taken out in loans, and then the most recent thing is that they declared bankruptcy. So unfortunately, for us in Miraflores, you know, we don't own the section of the property that was going to be developed with the housing. We own the park, but the agreement originally was that those developers were going to be the ones that take care of and finish the development on the park as a part of the whole development. But since they're kind of out of the game, now keeping up with what remains of Miraflores falls on the city. And so there's a scramble now to try to figure out and Lena Velasquez from Planning is working on this, whether or not the city can take over responsibility for the historical elements and can install the signs in the city part of the park. That wasn't originally what was going to happen because they wanted to put it more towards the development so it would be protected from vandalism and other things. So they're trying to scramble to finish that grant, which also is coming to an end soon. And it's a mess, honestly. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth of where we land. At least we know where we are. And, you know, earlier this year, nobody knew what was going on. They didn't know why it was stalled. They didn't know what was going on. The developer was spinning tales of how they were going to bring millions of dollars, and it was just all a crock. And so unfortunately, we know the truth, but the truth ain't good.
Better to know than to be uninformed and taking action that could bury you deeper. Thank you. By the way, I didn't get any emails from folk about ideas for the budget, and I was looking. I actually did check my emails.
I
back
thought I
then.
sent something about trying to do something about the bathroom situation in the parks.
Okay, when I looked, I didn't see it. I'm
So
sorry.
In the line item that was the 250,000, it specifically named bathrooms as a use. So it was like parks, bathrooms, blah, blah. We did put it together with soccer fields. There'd be more room to move in that category depending on, because we have a short amount of time to use that money. And construction can take varying amounts of time. And so, you know, yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there is another meeting that I chair on the first Tuesdays. So I gotta say though, we wrapped up. I double checked my email again. I didn't see anything. I'm like, well, doggone it. You all were going strong. I decided to watch you virtually. You're a champion on this, and we really, really, really appreciate that.
It was not,
I,
I'm not
I know
alone.
I'm
There's lots
speaking
of
for other
people
people,
working.
but I watched you until I fell asleep, and I didn't fall asleep until after midnight.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm going to keep looking out for more funding sources. I know we need more money for soccer fields. We need more money for other things. And it always helps if I know what the needs are. So if there's an opportunity that comes up, I can do what I can to rally to bring resources to these things. So
I'm looking for someone who might actually be able to take care of the putting green because I'm misusing it.
awesome. Well, thank you. And if you were to put a little time on the agenda for me to give any report backs, then I can do that for you
Yeah,
all.
absolutely. That's not a problem or a question in my mind. Anybody else? Anybody got heartburn about that? No? Okay, good. Fine. Thank you so much. I believe that pretty much wraps us up, yes? Yes.
I just want to say thank you for adding the table to the agenda. I would love for that to be a permanent fixture, please. Thank you for updates.
Yeah, yeah, thank you so much. I should not have let that go.
And
We asked, and it's here.
yeah, and one more thing for Humphrey Play Lot. Several months ago, actually, it's going to be a 1-year period since this happened. During the rainy season last year, or this year, we organized a bike ride for the neighborhood, and the Humphrey Play Lot was a pool, basically, after a heavy rain. And there were comments that they were going to look into doing or looking into potential solutions. I would love to hear back in the next meeting what's the updates and the status on that. We're closing into, well, it'll be a year. It would be good to hear back. That's all. Thanks.
I just want to make sure everyone understood exactly what that was, because I know I missed like the first third.
Oh, sorry.
It was rainy season. It was flooding, or okay.
Yeah, the park flooded, and there's a Humphrey Play Lot.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it became a pool, and my kid actually saw the wood chips floating on the top, ran, and had water up to his neck.
Ew.
Yeah, he saw the swing and wanted to go. Yeah, and hopefully there's something that can be done.
Okay.
I hope there's some progress.
Okay, so we were able to catch the name of the park and everything officially? Yep.
Sorry, was that a question?
Just making sure that you were able to hear the name of the park and the issue that was brought up because of the rain. Because I know I didn't hear it initially, so.
What was the name of the park?
Humphrey Play Lot.
Humphrey. Yeah, this is the last time we had a whole bunch of rain. We were listing out all the different play lots and parks that we saw that just were not usable for several days and in some cases weeks after the rains stopped because they were just with basically potentially being vector pools because of the standing water.
Noted.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, could we add to agenda a more detailed discussion about this list for next time, or if there's an opportunity to have a greater conversation about this with the group?
Yeah, we can fit that in. I'll make sure that we put that on the agenda. Okay, great.
And by this, I mean the updates to the Parks Master Plan list.
Yeah. All right, everyone. If there's nothing more to discuss, we have come to the end of our agenda. We know when our next regularly scheduled meeting is assigned, so we are now adjourned at 8:06 p.m.